everybody, Michelle here from Gardening TLC. We are back at Benson Stone where we're going to talk about more hardscape materials. How many of you have gone to a trade show, a home show, walked into a box store and picked up a catalog like this and then started looking through it at all of the really cool ideas that are in here? You're thinking about getting a wall done or a patio done, but you're just not quite sure where to start. Today's video is going to be about asking the right questions if you're thinking about hiring a contractor to do this kind of work for you. Yes, you want to ask the basic questions, but what are some of the questions that dive a little bit deeper so that you make sure that you get everything you want? For those of you that are new here, my name's Michelle. I'm a retired landscape designer and I used to run the landscape division for our company. I did that for about 20 years. I don't do that anymore unless it's a project that I really want to do. For the most part, I just run the garden center, I piddle around my garden at home, and I make these videos for you guys. So even though I'm not actively in that field doing it every day like I used to, I still know a lot about what to do, and I thought that this channel would be a good way to share that information with you. So if you're even thinking about putting in a patio, I really wanted to make sure that you knew the right questions to ask. You're going to use these Paver materials to get that done, and you're going to hire it done. So I actually Googled the question to see what would come up, and it was some good questions. I think there's other questions that you should be asking to make sure that what you put in is what you're paying for, and that if you're getting multiple estimates, you're comparing apples to apples as far as what the work is that they're going to do. Because I know sometimes when I would do a bid, my bid would come in higher than a competitor's, but my bid also included things that the competitors did not, and I don't know that the homeowner always knew what the competitor was offering versus what I was offering, because I would line item, we are doing this, this, and this. So today's video and the purpose of it is to help you know what questions to ask if you're going to have this done at your house. There are a couple of questions to start with that you can ask yourself before you even have a contractor come over. I would recommend getting 3 bids, and when you get the 3 bids, make sure that what you're looking at and what they explain to you as far as what the installation is, that they're all the same, because prices can widely vary if everything that's being included in the bid isn't the same on all 3 bids. So hopefully these questions will address that. Now, one of the things that I think you should ask yourself before you ever call a contractor is, what are you using the space for? Do you even know? Are you going to use it to grill? Do you want a fire pit? Do you want a water feature? Are you going to have parties? How often are you going to use it? Are you going to have like an 8-top table, a 4-top table? Do you want furniture out there? Those are all questions that you need to ask yourself before you even call the contractor, so you can kind of get a good scope in your mind of how big you want to make it. The other thing is, think about your style. Are you modern? Are you contemporary? Are you old school? You like that old world look? What are things that you gravitate to when it comes to buying the furniture in your house, or things that you look at on Pinterest, or things that when you're watching a video like mine, you go, I really like that, or I don't like that? Because we all have likes and dislikes and things that we gravitate to, things that speak to us, and you probably should know kind of what you like. That's another thing to know before you go into the meeting, because brick can be very contemporary looking and it can be very old world, old school looking, like that tumbled worn look. So kind of have an idea of the style that you like as well. The last thing to ask yourself is, what is your color palette? So what color is your house? What color are your shutters? What colors do you like? Because you're either going to go with a cool palette or you're going to go with a warm palette. The cool palette are going to be the blues and the grays and the charcoals, whereas the warm palette is going to be the tans and the browns, maybe some charcoal or black worked in there, but for the most part, they're going to be those earth tone colors. So which direction do you want to go? Because that's going to determine what color brick you choose. There are definitely some basic questions that you need to ask any contractor that you're thinking about hiring. Number 1 being, are you insured? Do you have workman's comp? Number 2, do you have any references? Ask for at least 5. Number 3, how long has your company been in business? Number 4, are you doing the work yourself or are you subcontracting this out to somebody else? Number 5, what do your warranties cover? Number 6, how far out are you? When can you start the job? Number 7, how long will it take to do the job? Number 8, do you have a written contract? In my opinion, these are just 8 basic questions that you should ask along with the next ones I'm going to talk about, which dive a little deeper. I think for the most part, people are visual people. I think that's why we watch YouTube videos, because we're inspired by the visuals that we get from other people. That's why I love going to other people's gardens. It's inspiring to have the visual of other things that will help me be inspired to do what I want to do at my home. So that's why there's catalogs and books and pictures on the internet. Now, one of the things that you need to ask the contractor is, can they do a design? Some contractors have the ability to do it and some don't. Now, if you're willing to do this with just a drawn out piece of paper, because maybe it's pretty simple, maybe it's just a basic patio, that's probably totally fine. But if you're doing something a little more complicated, like a water feature, seat walls, fire pits, anything like that, you probably really should have a design done. Typically, designs are not free, but for most companies around where I live, the way it works is if they do a design and you hire them, the cost of that design is absorbed into the cost of the whole job. So they end up doing the design pretty much for free, and the benefit is that you hired them to do the job. But if all we did was designs and we didn't charge for them, you'd never get any work done. And it's a good way for a contractor to weed out people who really aren't serious in getting it done, because it is a lot of time for a contractor to put a bid together. I have spent hours and hours and hours putting a bid together. So just know they are going to probably charge you for the design. But if you're serious about getting it done, it's well worth it. Question number 2, what kind of material are they going to use? That should be the next question, because not all paving material is created equal. Some companies have better products than others. And just remember, you get what you pay for. You can go to the box store and you can buy bricks from there. There's nothing wrong with it. But just know, what makes a brick strong? A brick is strong by the amount of aggregate that they use to make it. What do I mean by that? This is aggregate. Aggregate is a stone that they put in the brick. Now, some bricks are concrete bricks. That's what Unilock makes, is a concrete brick. Some bricks are made out of clay. So you want to make sure that you know what it is that you're buying. Concrete is going to last a lot longer. It's going to withhold through the elements a lot better. Whereas clay bricks have a tendency to crumble over time and they wear down faster. So just know that. But if that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. Now, Unilock, I think it's not the most expensive brick out there, but it's a good quality brick. They make them here in Illinois. I think there's other places around the country that they do, but they have a factory in Aurora, which isn't too far from here. So you're going to see Unilock used a lot around here. Another really reputable company, I think it's bigger out west, is Belgard. That is another really good company that does a concrete paver. And so I would highly recommend them too. Now, I have a tendency to lean towards Unilock because the availability of what I can get is so much better. So that is what you need to know, is what kind of material are they going to be using? And if they're buying it from a box store, make sure it's what you want. The other thing that most contractors will do when they come to your house is they'll show up with a book. A good contractor will show up with a brochure or a book like this so that you can look at the different styles of brick. There was plenty of times where I went to a job estimate and the homeowner had no clue what their style was that they liked. So I always showed them 3 different kinds of brick. And so if you're not sure, look at these 3 kinds of brick. Tumbled brick. So think about taking your brick, throwing it in the dryer, tumbling it around so it looks worn and like it's been around for a while. That's a tumbled brick. And so they look like this. They usually come in 3 different sizes. There's this square, there's a big long one, and then there's what we call a half stone. So you can create all kinds of really cool different patterns. But this would be a tumbled brick. It's got imperfections in it and it's not perfect. The next one I would show them would be something like this. So it's kind of got that big patio look to it, the big flagstone. This one is called Treo. See, and it's smoother and it's got bigger pieces to it. This is like the middle size, and then there's pieces that are bigger. It still has joints that are a little bit spaced apart, so it's not tight, smooth joints. And if you want a contemporary look, that's what you're looking for, is the tight, super small, smooth paver joints. They don't have any in stock. I just looked around. But see, the tighter the joints and the closer together they are, the smoother the paver, the more contemporary it looks. The way you lay it and the pattern can also have a say in how contemporary it looks. And usually contemporary means black, gray. It really is the color that's still kind of sort of in. It's not my favorite, but I'll tell you what, boy, did I sell a lot of gray and black in the last 10 years. So there you go. Question number 2, what are the materials that you're going to use? Now, I will give you one big piece of advice no matter what kind of paver that you're going to choose. Do not pick your color out of a book, because it will not be the same as what the color looks like live. Most places are going to have a showroom. Even a box store has the material out so that you can see what the true color is. It's never true to what's in this book. So do not pick your color out of the magazine. We are back at my store now, where we're in the back area where I have all of my bulk product that I sell. So question number 3, how much base are you going to put underneath my patio? So every patio should have some kind of base underneath it. Here in Northern Illinois, we use 6 inches of base, and when we put it in, we do it in what's called 2-inch lifts. What that means is we dump a whole bunch of gravel down, about 2 inches worth. Then we're going to take a compactor and we're going to run it over the top of it and compress it down. Now we're using a product called CA6. This is it right here. And as you can see, it has rocks in it. The rocks can be anywhere from 1/4 inch up to 3/4 of an inch. Then all of that gritty stuff in there, that's called fines. All of this together, you get it a little bit wet, you run the compactor over it. Oh, and it creates a wonderful base for you to put your pavers on. We do this in 2-inch lifts, and what it means is we'll do 2 inches, we'll compact it. Dump 2 more inches, compact it. 2 more inches, compact it. And we do that until we have 6 inches of base underneath. We do that here in Northern Illinois because we have freeze-thaw cycles, and we want to make sure that the ground can rise and fall and the pavers can rise and fall with it and not shift and move. The number one mistake that I see people do when they put pavers down is they don't do good base and they just put sand. So this is our big sand pile here, and this is what's called leveling sand, torpedo sand, called different things. It comes out of a quarry. It's a wash sand. And what we use with this is we use this, and it's called screeding. And what you do is you only use no more than 1 inch. Now I've pulled patios up for repair and seen 3 and 4 inches of sand because that was all they used, and they tried to level their pavers on it. But what happens is the sand will sink, and then your pavers will sink as the ground rises in the freeze-thaw cycles. So a lot of times what happens is if you use too much sand, that's where you'll start to see sinking in different areas of your patio. So no more than 1 inch of sand should be on the top of that base, and they screed that in, and then they lay the pavers on top of that to get it level. The other thing that happens if you use too much sand is think about all the rain that you get over the years that gets on your patio and then it goes through. Well, guess what? It starts to wash some of that sand away. So even if you don't have a freeze-thaw cycle, that can also contribute to sinking in different areas of your patio. Also, if there's a lot of traffic going through one area versus another, it's not a stable enough base to keep your patio level. So 1 inch or less only. So it's kind of a twofold question. How much base and how much sand? Make sure they can answer that question. And then as they're doing the project, make sure that that's what they're actually doing. You need that base in there to make you have a nice level patio for years and years and years to come. The next question you should ask is whether or not they're going to put a border or an edge with brick around the body of the patio. You want to ask this because you don't want to have what we call slugs as the end piece or the edge of your patio. It just doesn't look good. Also, when you put a border around the outside edge of the patio, it gives it a nice finished look. And there's 2 different ways that you can lay it. So let me show you. All right, so what does a brick edge look like? Well, it looks just like this. So you can lay it one of 2 ways. You can lay it like this, where all of the bricks go up and down like this. And this is what's called soldiering. Or you can lay it long ways like this, and that's called sailoring. Now, this has got a ribbon in it of a different color. So when it's inside the edge, this is called a ribbon. Otherwise, it's just a soldiered or a sailored edge on the outside of the patio. Now, the reason you do this is because you don't want slug pieces to be on the edge of the patio. What do I mean by that? Well, if I go to the next course in, I'll show you. You can see the little pieces that are slugs, and I don't want that to be my edge. So if we look closer, you can see here, this is my soldiered edge. Here is my sailored ribbon. And then this is another ribbon that we put in there in a pattern. But see, I wouldn't want that piece right there to be the edge of my patio. Let me show you another example. Here's another example of pavers that are laid in the main body, and they're just laid in a wishbone pattern. But you can see over here, we did put a sailored ribbon in and a soldiered edge, but then see all the little slug pieces? You don't want that to be your edge. That just doesn't look good. And look at how much better this looks with that nice finished edge. The same thing happens when you're laying a patio, because you lay a pattern, and then what happens is you get to the end of the pattern, and to make the
measurement of whatever you're doing, a lot of times you have to cut the last brick in the pattern like you see right here. And then if you do the edge all the way around, see, it just gives it a nice clean finish. And then you can see here, you can create layered patterns going in using the same brick. And then in the center, we put a bigger tile, and then we just did patterns around the outside going in different directions to create kind of a rug look. All right, and then one more time, see how I've soldiered my edge here? This is at my house, and I have this little bitty sidewalk here that runs in front of my porch, and I soldiered on each side, just did a wishbone pattern running down the edge. But as you can see here, you can look close into my joints, and I do not have any polymeric sand in here. What is polymeric sand? We'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing I wanted to show you was if you have a step or you are going to transition into a higher grade and you have to have an edge, you can't use a paver on the edge because most of them have these little bump outs on them. You have to either use a capstone or what is called a bullnose. That's what this is right here. So this is a bullnose paver. It's got a nice rounded edge on it, and it's what is going to transition as an edge as I step up into the patio area that I have underneath my covered porch. I use the exact same thing right here. When I transitioned into my steps, I have this beautiful bullnose on here that gives me that rounded edge, and that's what I prefer. Now you can use a capstone like you would use on the top of a wall, but this is what I prefer. I just think it looks so much nicer. The next question you should ask is, what are they going to put in between the joints? And that is the space between the bricks. Are they going to use a polymeric sand? And when they use the polymeric sand, make sure that they're running it through the joints from the top of the brick to the bottom of the brick, that they're not filling it in with sand and then just putting it on the top course. When they apply this, they should be spreading it across the bricks, brushing it in so it goes down into all the joints, and then they should run a compactor over the top of your patio again and then put more sand in. That way you have the sand going from the top of the brick to the bottom of the brick in the joint. Now there's two different kinds. You can get a wide joint sand that's good for 1/2 inch up to 6 inches, and it's grittier, it's got more aggregate in it, but it still adheres the same. It's just designed a little bit different. And then you've got the polymeric sand that's for smaller joints, anywhere up to 2 inches, and they look different too. Polymeric sand also comes in different colors, so you can match it up to whatever color brick you're using. So it comes in tan, it comes in gray, and in some places you can find it in black. So as you can see here, the ones with the smaller joints are going to have the finer sand, and then it's going to have the grittier sand in the wider joints. So as I said, you brush it into the joints, you compact it in, you brush it in again, and then you're going to take a blower and blow off any excess sand that's on top of your pavers, because you certainly don't want the sand on the pavers, because what you do next is you get it wet. When you get this wet, the polymers in this sand all join together and they create like a glue that holds your patio together. Now, a lot of times the sand will be set in 15 minutes. If you're using a really good sand, sometimes it can take 12 hours. We always tell people to wait 24 hours before they put anything on top of their patio to give it a chance to dry all the way through. So why the heck do you even need polymeric sand in your joints? This is why. So this is what the pavers look like when they don't have any sand in the joints. And when you don't have sand in the joints, the bricks themselves can actually move and slide apart. Weeds can grow up through the cracks, and the ants love it. But if you put polymeric sand in the joints, see how it holds your patio together? It's nice and clean looking. I don't have any weeds. I don't have any bugs burrowing up in my brick. Another question that you should be asking is, what are they using to secure the patio edges that aren't butted up against something?
Whenever you're done putting the edge of the patio in, one of the things that you have to do is if you have edges that are unsecured, meaning it doesn't butt up against something like the house or a wall or steps or something like that, you have to secure it in with this edging. This is called a paver edging. I like the ones that are flexible, so this one kind of has some give to it so I can bend it around corners. Now what we're going to do is every 4 feet we are going to install a spike into this to hold it into the ground. See this big nail? See, that's what goes right through there, and you pound it into the ground and it holds this baby in place. What you do is you backfill over the top if it with dirt, and then you seed it in if this is going to butt up next to grass.
The last question that I think you should be asking, and this is kind of a two-part question, is first, when they dig out the area for your patio, are they removing a deck, concrete, or anything like that? Who's doing that work and how much does that cost? And who's taking all the spoils? Are there dump charges? Because most of the time, if you have to remove a deck or something, you have to pay charges to dump at a dump. Also, think about how far they have to core down. So if they have to put in 6 inches of base, 1 inch of sand, the bricks normally anywhere from 2 1/4 to 2 3/8 inches. That's like 10 inches that they have to dig down. Where's all that dirt and grass going? Are they taking it with them? Or at the end, let's say that they used a machine to come into the back of your yard to lift concrete up because you're putting pavers down. Or maybe the area all of a sudden became smaller because you did a smaller patio versus a big deck that you had. Who's doing all the lawn repair around the outside edges of the patio or the trail that led to your backyard where they wheelbarrowed all the material back and forth 100 times, or they used a machine to get back there? Who's repairing that and how are they repairing it? Are they backfilling it with topsoil? Are they using grass seed, sod? Are they going to put a straw blanket on it? Who's doing all that? Because sometimes that's not part of the bid. So make sure you ask. I hope this video helped you know what questions to ask, whether you're thinking about doing it yourself and you need to ask yourself these questions, or you're going to hire it out and you don't know what to ask the contractor. Putting in a paver patio can be expensive. They can start at $10,000 and go up from there depending on the materials, how big it is. And we didn't even talk about whether or not you're putting in a fire pit or seat walls or anything else. This is just the basics of, I'm just putting in a patio. What do I need to know? I know that there's other questions that you can ask, but I think that these will get you going, and these are probably some of the more important ones that maybe we don't think about or we don't know to ask because we have no idea how they even put a patio in. So this will be the start of hopefully helping you know what questions to ask. I got to get busy getting all this stuff that I stored on the porch back out where it goes after the big storm that came through. So I'm still picking up all of the stuff from that and putting stuff away. That's all I've got for today. Hopefully you loved our video. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe below, like our video, share with your friends, and leave your comments and questions below. Also, a reminder, Garden Gab is switching. And what is Garden Gab? That is where we answer the questions from the videos from the previous weeks. We are moving Garden Gab to the first Saturday of the month. So the first Saturday in August, we'll be answering all of your questions from the previous 2 weeks' videos. It is also where I share all of your viewer submission pictures. If you would like to participate in that, send us one picture of something you love in your garden and you want to share it with everybody. Send the picture in a landscape format like this. Don't hold your phone straight up and down because YouTube uses the long format to be able to post the pictures on. You send it to this email right here, Michelle.tlcgiftandgarden@gmail.com. It is also down below in the description. We are also going to host our very first live Garden Gab on Saturday, August 17th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We will answer questions from the previous 2 weeks videos, but we'll also be answering live questions as well. We're going to try it out. It'll be our first one live. Make sure you put that on your calendar and tune in for that. I'm kind of excited about it. I hope I love the format, but if not, we'll try it anyways and see how it goes. So I'm Michelle. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Have a great day, and I hope you get in your garden. Bye, everybody.